Good morning. You're listening to Central Wisconsin's 24-hour information station, AM 1320 WFHR. It's time now for the Morning Magazine, brought to you by Comfort Air Heating, Cooling, Plumbing.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Morning Magazine for this November 3rd, 2021, 11:07 on the clock. And you have your host, James J. Malouf here, where we are spending the entire hour with Wood County Sheriff's Department, and along with our friends from Wisconsin Rapids Community Media, who we want to say hello to Joe and the gang over there. Good morning to you guys. Appreciate you being here. And also want to thank, of course, Sheriff Becker for being here. Thanks a lot, Shawn. Appreciate the time.
Always a pleasure.
And you brought a friend in. You got Mr. Scott Goldberg here with you.
Well, let's slow down. I don't know about friend.
Yeah. I just shouldn't assume.
No, in all seriousness, no. Great friend. Scott decided to join us this morning. He's recently promoted at the Sheriff's Department. Scott started his career at the Sheriff's Department, I believe, in 2008.
That's correct. Yeah.
But backing up, he's a Lincoln High School graduate. Also went to UW-Stevens Point, played football there, and then I got in a career of law enforcement. I think he had a couple of other opportunities before the Wood County Sheriff's Department, Grand Rapids Police Department, Adams County Sheriff's Department. What am I missing?
Some part-time jobs at the Vesper Police Department, but other than that, I started full-time in Adams County as a deputy there, and moved on to the Grand Rapids Police Department, and was lucky enough to get on the Wood County Sheriff's Department in 2008. So that's where I started.
I first, congrats on the promotion.
Hey, thank you.
That's awesome. That. Congrats on that, man. And I know I've talked with Shawn about this and others before. I think of this oftentimes when you see an athlete get to play for his home team. It's got to mean something to be able to come to your home turf and be able to be, wearing that badge here.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think it means so much because these are your friends. These are your family members. Yeah. This is the community, Rapids, Marshfield. I grew up in the center of the county. This is the community that I was raised and I care about. And it makes such a difference when you can go to an investigation and have a connection to these people and have an understanding of where they're coming from and why, if they're a victim of something, why it pains them so much. And I think working for a community that is means so much can be hard because it hurts worse when something bad happens, but is so much more rewarding when you see good things happen.
What is it? And I don't know how detailed we can get about this, but for that promotion to happen, what takes place?
Well, it really falls down on that person's career, and is it right for, number one, the individual putting in for the spot, and then two, for the opportunity for the agency. Is that a good fit? And this was an ideal fit, in my opinion, for Scott to get this opportunity to be a leader at our department. He's got many years of experience as an investigator. He was working out of the Marshfield office on the north part of Wood County. We do hold two offices within our organization, one in Marshfield and obviously one in Wisconsin Rapids. But Scott had been working up there for several years, and the experience and his background is an ideal fit, and the opportunity was there. So we have a promotional process that really starts out with a letter of interest and a resume that's forwarded to our administration. And then from there, there's a testing procedure, and then we'll have an outside panel of experienced administrators from other sheriff's departments or police departments come in and go through that interview process and evaluation. And then we have a ranking system that at every different level we take a look at. And then it's kind of a point structure, and then who normally finishes with the highest or the most points in that process, we'll get that promotion.
So you get out of football, and it still comes down to points. It still comes down to that. Scott, why did this promotion mean so much to you? Why did you want this?
Well, the biggest thing is I have a passion for investigations. As Shawn mentioned, I have several years of investigative experience, and I felt like I could help our division in the sense of having a good direction. And I've built great relationships with all of our investigators. And I think the big one here is I want to shout out to all of our investigators because they do all of them do a great job. Yeah. And so it's one thing to be their supervisor, but having good people to work under me is the biggest thing. And their experience, they have they've been trained well. They've been to great trainings throughout the years, and so it makes it an easy job when you have good people to work for.
I'm very new to that, being in charge, that kind of thing. I notice when you have good people, you don't really have to do that much. You don't. I mean, they really do their job. They really, there's not a whole lot of wearing the boss hat kind of thing.
Yep, that's correct.
Is there anything else you guys want to mention about that position or anything with that?
No, like I said, just congrats to Scott. Great to see him being part of our administration team. Previous to that, he also was our union president. So he could probably talk about an hour about that.
I sure could.
I imagine. Yeah.
No, but one thing I want to highlight with that, I mean, it's not a we they attitude. Even though we're dealing with an association or a union, or we have a labor contract that the Deputy Sheriff's Association have, that we work together to put that document together, so we have something to follow. And Scott has done an outstanding job with that position as well. Unfortunately, I had to vacate that with taking a leadership role here in administration, but throughout the years of working through the contract language or a concern somebody at the department might have that we can work out. It's great to have a voice of reason, somebody willing to come to the table and, hey, let's just sit down and figure out what we need to address, what we need to change, if we need to change anything. Could be a misunderstanding that somebody just wasn't getting the right communication, but having that teamwork approach, I think, really set up our organization really well as we move forward. So we really appreciated the role that he had with the association, and I think the association is going to miss you.
Yeah, with the position, there's certain things that stand out, I think, and the leadership one certainly does. But having another set of eyes, like certainly with investigation, you can always use that. That never seems to hurt. But especially in the supervising position, where it's a fresh set of eyes, and that is good. And then certainly with the leadership of being in charge, and that it's all adds up. I can see why you're a good man for the job.
I appreciate it.
No, he's going to do great. And he already alluded to, he's got a great team. We have a great team of investigators that, and it doesn't just stop with our organization. What I found in my experience of having a similar position just a couple of years ago, you have to build those relationships with other law enforcement agencies, because whenever you have a larger incident, and unfortunately they do happen around here, but not very often. But your first phone calls to get somebody to assist you are your other law enforcement agencies. So having established strong working relationships with Wisconsin Rapids Police Department, Marshfield Police Department, it goes beyond that. When we have something that, hey, we need some people here, whether it's a homicide investigation or something along those lines that's very serious, you need that help. And Scott's already established those relationships as well. Not just with our team, but the team around us, and that's something that I've talked about before, and how important it is to have strong working relationships with your other law enforcement agencies, because that's going to provide the community a better service. Bottom line.
And criminals travel. I mean, to be blunt about it, it's ridiculous to think of, well, you crossed the county line, so I'm not going to talk to that county department or something. Sharing information makes us all safer, makes us all a better communities. And there's no real downside to it, especially where we're in this day and age where it doesn't seem, and I don't want to sound like I know it all what it's like to be in your guys' position, but just from officers I've talked to, having conversation with you, Shawn, it doesn't seem to be this, I need to get credit for the bust or kind of thing. That I think a lot of people tend to think of positions like yourselves where, well, I saw this cop show or what have you. And it more times than not, that's just, drama. That's just something for TV script writers come up with. I mean, more times than what we hear from you guys, what I hear from other people, it's about we got the guy. That's it. Not who put the cuffs on him. It's more about we got the guy.
Right. No, you're exactly right. I mean, it's not about one individual doing one thing for, like I said, a larger investigation. It's all about a team. And when you see that team working together, you're going to see, a heck of a lot more success.
Right.
And you alluded to it. It's going to keep the community safe.
Yeah. So, what else is on your docket over there? I know you always got good notes.
If I could read them.
That's the tough part.
No, we did recently have Lieutenant Melissa Sager leave us. She's been on the show before and put in a long career with the Sheriff's Department, over 21 years. And the last several years, she's been a leader within our jail. and overseeing our electronic monitoring program, which is, in the last couple of years, especially with COVID, we really had to look at strongly just because we want to limit who was coming in and out of our jail. So she left. She got a job down in the Adams County Sheriff's Department, where she now is the jail administrator there. So she is running that jail in Adams County. So a great opportunity for Melissa. Stinks to see her leave. Yeah, because she's part of our team, and a lot of us have worked with her for many, many years. But the bittersweet moment or silver lining is she's getting the opportunity to better herself. Yeah. She was a leader with us, for many years, but now she's going to be running the jail down in Adams County. So I wasn't real happy with Sheriff York for a little bit. He was really forward with me, and this was a career goal for her. Yeah. And you know what? She's not leaving the community. Her husband, Scott Sager, he's one of our patrol lieutenants. He's staying with our department, and just a great opportunity for Mel. So want to wish her all the best. We'll miss working with you within our team, but we know you're still always going to be part of it.
Just to add to your point, and I'm not that comfortable saying this, but I want to because of her, and she deserves it. I've met her on two different levels, meeting her in one way and then her coming in here. Treated me the exact same both ways. Just couldn't be a more nicer, genuine soul, and she deserves it. Congrats to her and her family. Yeah. That's wonderful.
No, it's great for her, and I know that her and Scott are really happy for this opportunity for her.
That's cool.
And she started on Monday, this Monday, and I know she's going to do great things down there.
Now you get to poach somebody from the other guy. Now you get to do it. It's only fair. It's only fair.
Unfortunately, that happens, and that's a great segue. As law enforcement leaders, within the area, you don't want to do that to the other departments, but it does come down to the applicant pool, and then you look at the applicant, and it's just like Melissa. This was a career goal for her. Now, if somebody wants to come in, work at the Wood County Sheriff's Department, starting their law enforcement career, and they've got some experience somewhere, they're going to be a good candidate. And we just hired somebody from Clark County, and it wasn't a great phone call when I called, Sheriff Haynes and said, hey, I want to be up front and forward with you that, we've got an applicant that's looking really good. He's got over 5 years of law enforcement experience. He's from Pittsville. I just want to let you know he's still on the eligibility list. We have an opening. So, and I know Scott appreciated that conversation, but it's unfortunately the nature of the beast, and we wound up hiring Chris Downs, and he'll be starting in about a month, or probably a little less than that, but unfortunately that does happen. Yeah. You go back in the day when we started our law enforcement careers, for me is back in 95, and it was very competitive, where, one position for like an agency like Wood County, Sheriff's Department, you're having 400 or 500 applicants put in for that. Now we're getting between 20 to 30, and you've noticed that trend go down. So what's happening is, we're competing. All of our law enforcement agencies are competing against each other. And I had the same conversation with Sheriff Scott Parks last week when we did the radio show up in Marshfield. That we're getting people applying to both agencies. Some just wanting to make a change, and if they're a great applicant, it's really an easier opportunity to find that place where you really want to work.
It's a tough position to be in for all the departments, but the stories like that with her, with Scott here getting to come back to your hometown or getting a dream position, those make it kind of all even out, I think. Yeah. And for the most part, the part that worries me is something that we haven't necessarily talked about, but I keep seeing reports about, is the dwindling numbers of people, young people, wanting these positions, and what we need to do as a society to make these jobs more appealing to people, and making sure that we get younger people into these jobs, so that you're not here at 80 doing this still with me. We don't need that. You deserve retirement, sir. You put your time in. But and I'm also not trying to get you to retire too early either. I'm not. You ain't done yet.
I appreciate that too.
But we do. That's important. I can't help but think of that when we're mentioning those numbers about how many candidates you're getting or any of that. It also makes the talent pool that much harder for all departments.
Right. And I just was at a law enforcement meeting with a bunch of leaders within Wood County from other, police departments, district attorney's office, human services, and there's a really outstanding presentation done by Mid-State Technical College, because I think that's where you're seeing the need, or at least the opportunity for, your high school students or people that are looking to, change their career, and Mid-State Technical College listening to us as law enforcement leaders, like, hey, they've got a really, I think, strong program there for law enforcement, and then just an awesome, partnership with UW Stevens Point that many of us, Scott and myself, have taught out there, and they've done an outstanding job, staying local, getting some, people that have experience to come in and help teach. Now, what we're hearing from Mid-State, what else can we do to make it better?
Yeah.
Because where is that opportunity? It's
Yeah.
those young people coming out of high school, or those career opportunities, and then comparing your campus to other ones.
Yeah.
And that can be tough sometimes. And I was really happy with the president's message, talking to all of us, saying, okay, what do you want to see us change? Where should we invest on our campus for law enforcement, and the willingness to listen and communicate. No, I'm excited that the opportunities that are going out there. I think they have a really strong program. Now they're looking at enhancing it, and that's where I think we can start to get more people interested in this profession. It's like, hey, look at what opportunity is available here at a campus that's local.
Right.
And again, I can't say much, and of course I'm pretty biased because I went to UWSP myself.
Yeah.
But just to see that relationship with, if you want to take the 4-year route to get your bachelor's degree and still want to get into law enforcement, that opportunity is there locally. Or if you want to do the 2-year associate opportunity, you can do that too. But they're partnering up with a facility that's really looking at making some good changes.
There's we've talked about this quite a bit on our morning show and other shows. The migration that is happening, people pivoting positions. Here's hoping that some people may even go into law enforcement or other servicing community things that service the community.
No, there's looks like some really good things are going to be happening at Mid-State. Great partnership that we've had for many years.
Well, they're the best. The gang over there at Mid-State does such a good job, and I mean every Mid-State. I'm certainly biased about our own one here in Wood County that we've got in Rapids here. I teach there. I've taken classes there. I love the people over there. But they're just one example. All the Mid-States, they do this great job of not just saying, hey, this is what we're going to do. They actually do put their foots on the ground, get out there, and say, hey, what can we do? Yeah, it's a smart. That's smart. I'm not surprising.
Great message, and and one thing that I know that they're going to change, or they're going to work very hard at changing, is they're, I think, having a great program there for getting law enforcement officers started. But what about after somebody starts and they're here locally? We have to maintain our certification and have to have 24 hours of training every year. That's the minimum that the state requires if we want to remain certified law enforcement officers. Looking at the opportunities to have more training for people that have experience. Chief Blevins from Rapid Speed brought up a great point this morning. Is what, if we can have more training for people here at Mid-State Technical College, so we don't have to send our law enforcement officers out of town, would be huge. Because look at the cost factor. You're going to have to put somebody up in a hotel, meals and everything. If you can have something that equivalent training or better here, it's going to save our departments locally a lot of money. Just last week we had one of our supervisors, Sergeant Adam Berry, go down to a training, a leadership training, which is it's called LPO, that the state sponsors. You got to go to Kenosha for it. All right, so you look at the cost of the training and then lodging, because it's a 3-week course, and being away from your family that long. So I'm excited at these opportunities that they're listening, and I know they're going to move forward with.
Seems like one of those things too, where right now it seems great. 5 years from now, it's going to seem amazing. Yeah. We're really going to see, as we stretch out from this, more and more the after effects of it.
Lots of forward thinking and the willingness to reach out and survey, your local law enforcement leaders. Like, hey, what can we do better? And willing to listen. So I think that there's going to be some really good opportunities moving forward in the field of law enforcement at Mid-State Technical College.
It's encouraging. That's good to hear.
Sure is.
We got a couple minutes before our first break.
Sure.
What else did you want to touch on?
Well, a couple other things. We're working on it. I think I brought up before, our special response team. we're looking at combining that with Wisconsin Rapids Police Department and the Marshfield Police Department. Essentially, we have 3 different SWAT teams in our county, and this isn't the new concept that people or a county will look at combining with other law enforcement agencies that are equivalent in size. And we've been talking about doing this for years. And then the leaders from each team came forward with a really good presentation to all of our law enforcement leaders, Chief Blevins, Chief Zepps, and myself, with just a really good presentation on why we should be doing this. Again, we it's like investigations we talked about, that all those relationships are already there with other agencies. Here's an opportunity that we can do the same. We've got the equipment, we've got people that are already working together, and this is something that just makes sense to me. Again, it's not a new concept. There's other counties, in Portage County, Marathon County has been doing, or has already done this before. And our county is somewhat unique when you have 2 good-sized cities, on opposite ends of the county, and then we're all around it. So any types of situations, serious situations that we need to utilize a special response team, now if we combine, we're going to have more people to utilize, to a more of a pool of people to get to, incidents from anywhere in the county. So I really think that the timeline for this to happen is ideal, and I think that'll probably most likely move forward. I'm hoping the goal will be beginning in January of this coming year.
You mentioned some positives about it. Is there any hesitation with it? Is there any noise that you've heard about that as far as negatives or reasons why they wouldn't want to do it?
I haven't seen it.
I can't even think of it. I'm trying to play devil's advocate, and I can't think of anything.
I didn't take a hands-off approach. I obviously, I love being part of the team. One of my career goals is to be part of our SWAT team. But you let the leaders on the team bring it forward and explain why they want it. I think it makes it more valuable. When you got the buy-in from the people that are going to be part of the team. Obviously the law enforcement leaders will be part of the decision-making process, whether it's a deployment or cost, like what are we going to get, what are we going to budget for equipment, what is something that we need as not just the sheriff's department, but you've got 2 other police departments that have SWAT teams. Getting the opportunity to listen to other people and combine, I think it's really valuable. It really is.
We'll take our break right here, and we'll come back. We'll talk some more. I got to catch up with you about your bike ride you had recently. I want to hear about that. We'll talk about that and plenty more with our friend from the Wood County Sheriff's Department, along with our friends from Wisconsin Rapids Community Media, right here on Morning Magazine, WFHR, locally grown radio.
Open enrollment.
Sean?
Good morning.
And we have, is it Detective Scott Goldberg? Is it?
Lieutenant.
It's Lieutenant. I'm sorry. I want to make sure I get it right. You deserve to get the title right here. Lieutenant Scott Goldberg with us. And, of course, our great friend Joe and our good friends over at Wisconsin Rapids Community Media were here with us as well. Sean, I wanted to rewind a little bit. You had recently, you had the bike ride recently. Can you talk about that a little?
We did that a couple of years ago. It's a nice story. Hannah Wendels, who I've known for several years. She used to play soccer with my daughter Caitlin back on Kickers days, and that was probably, I don't know, 15 years ago or whatnot. And Hannah was interning with, I believe it was the health department, like 3 or 4 years ago. And she came and said, "Hey, would you be interested in a community bike ride?" And I'm like, "Sure, why not?" And so we did that around the zoo. Like I said, it's probably about 3 or 4 years ago. And then it was a nice event that was well attended. So now Hannah works over at the UW Extension and brought it up again. And I'm like, sure, let's do it. And this time we did it around Lake Wazeecha. We had more people come, and Chief Mel Peterson from Grand Rapids PD came along with his wife and several other people. So we just took the opportunity to do a bike ride with some folks around here. And it was a really nice event that we'll probably be doing at least once a year. And
cool.
It's a really cool story about it. Is just, great idea Hannah came up with, and just the history of how, long I've known her and her parents. And, just when the girls played kicker soccer, and then, she stayed in the community.
Yeah.
Which is great that she's giving back and working for, I wouldn't say government, but working for us. kind of like what we're doing. And great idea, community event, and it's something that we'll keep doing.
Whether it was you or the chief or anybody else that came up with the idea, it'd be just as great and awesome. But for something about it that a citizen kind of came up with the idea, it means a little bit different to me. I like that. That's cool to hear. Thank you for sharing that. And great to hear the event went well.
Yeah, no, weather was great. And, you always can highlight, Southwood County Park. All of our parks are, of course, again, biased, but great opportunities for people to get out and enjoy. And Lake Wazeecha with that, trail going all the way around the lake, where you can bike it or walk it. I mean, you can tell it's very popular, and the county's made a heck of investment to maintain that and move forward with it. Just think of the camping and the events that go on out there, not just the water ski tournament, but other events that, whether concerts and, just so much opportunity for the community to be out there and enjoy. And, I think that as the UTV and ATV thing starts to move forward, there might be some more opportunities with our parks there as well. It just seems that that's ever growing so fast that there could be some camping opportunities that are exclusive to people that enjoy that type of recreation.
Good to hear. Those are positives for all of us. That those go forward.
The county makes a huge investment in our parks, and Chad Schooley does an outstanding job running the parks department. And again, the partnerships. We work with our parks department very closely with our part-time deputy program, that once the parks are open, we're out there patrolling them, not just do enforcement, just making sure that people are enjoying themselves.
I want to pull an audible here for a second, and I actually didn't mean to do that pun, because we're going to talk football in a moment too. So we had something recently happen here, and I share this story in part because I know we're not the only ones that have dealt with this, but also to show that things happen, and just kind of the transparency that we all believe in around here. We have had this happen twice now, where our garbage bin out here, somebody's dumped a deer in there. And a whole deer, like there's a doe in there right now. There might still be in there. I'm not sure. Obviously, you shouldn't be doing this. That's wrong. We're a radio station. This is not the way to dispose of an animal. And honest, if I'm being real about this, I have never even heard of people doing this before, because everything I know, and I'm not a hunter. I've been on hunting trips before, but I'm not a hunter. But I know certain things about hunting. All my best friends are. And if there's one thing I know, especially about you Wisconsinites, you make darn good use of every bit of that deer. And it doesn't matter if you shot the deer, if it got hit on the side of the road or whatever, you're going to make use of that deer. So this feels like the most un-Wisconsin thing I can think of, outside of like burning a cheese head. I can't imagine why you would do something like this. I share the story a little tongue-in-cheek there, but in all seriousness, there is a lot of nothing but negatives that can happen from something like that. It's not just on just on us that affects us. It's certainly the people that come and dispose of this, that they have to deal with that then. If for some reason they don't know the deer's in there and it starts going into the other departments, and there's a whole gamut of things that this affects. But this is the kind of thing that you guys, I don't want to say you guys, a sheriff's department different than a police department. I understand, but that do you deal with? Do you see these kind of things often, or what do you do with something like this when it happens to you? Because it's a bit of a head scratcher.
It is odd for sure. I've not heard of anybody dumping a deer in a dumpster before. It might be something where we could reach out to our partners in the DNR to see if that deer had actually been like poached or how it died. And might be something that I don't know if it's there yet, but we could reach out and see if we can figure out what cause of death. Was it hit by a car or was it like I said, poached? Because it's a good point that we are in a hunting community, and traditionally, you're right. People really do use every part of that deer to eat. I do. I enjoy hunting, and I feed my family with venison, and so that is odd. So this might be something we reach out to the DNR with.
I wouldn't have thought of that.
Maybe they could help out and figure out why that deer is showing up here too. That might be something we can do. With that said, on a little bit of a side note too is, I know some complaints are coming in with deer hunting, and for mostly what we get involved in with deer hunting is trespassing.
Yeah.
And something that I'd like everybody to really focus on is know your property lines. If you shoot a deer or another game animal and it goes onto somebody else's land, make sure you're contacting those people. You can go onto our county website, GIS, and find out who that landowner is. Or, it's kind of old-fashioned, but go ahead and just knock on somebody's door and say, hey, I shot a deer and it went onto your land. Can I go and retrieve it?
Yeah.
I hate hearing these stories where people just go onto someone else's land, and then next thing you know, we're having this neighbor dispute that didn't have to be if that person would have just asked.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that is an area that during deer season we sometimes deal with, and it does if we get the complaint if we have to investigate it, sometimes citations are issued for that, and it's not something we like to do, but know your property lines, know where you're supposed to be as hunting season kind of moves forward here.
Got one of my oldest friends. He just loves hunting, and he's also one of the more mellow people I know. But these things are where his blood boils. Where this is the only topic that seems to get him. This or maybe his football team, but especially the trespassing thing, because from his words, hunting's a privilege. It's not a birthright. It's not something that everybody gets to do. Certain actions, you lose that right, and everybody takes a hit when people do knucklehead things like this, like throwing a perfectly good deer in somebody's garbage bin or trespassing or any of that stuff. So following these lines, just like the tag amount that you get, these are all important so that we can have future hunters, we can have people that continue to do this and continue to enjoy some good venison, and all those other great things and all the other added things of why we hunt.
Yeah, no, Scott hit the nail right in the head. Establish those relationships with your neighbors. Be proactive and just make an appearance at their doorstep and just say, hey, hunting's coming up next week. I'm going to be out there. It won't be an issue if I shoot something and it goes on your property, because legally they don't have to. They don't have to let you on there. So can you imagine if you shoot that trophy buck or just the venison that you want to feed your family, you don't have a right to go on that neighboring property. So establish those positive relationships ahead of time, and then you don't have to worry about it, and we don't need to get called.
Yeah, a 5-minute conversation keeps you guys from having to show up or any of these other things that can happen from the fallout of something like that.
Yeah, and then vice versa. You can say the same thing. If you're a hunter too, you can come on the property that we're going to be hunting on as well to get a deer, and who knows, maybe you can establish a relationship or friendship where you can, hunt together or something, but be proactive about it, because Scott's right. It's unfortunate that that's probably one of the most common, complaint that we get during hunting season. And some people just an area that I hunt, people they trespass out there just way too often. And that's very frustrating for the property owner when you put the time that, in investing in putting your tree stand up and, getting trail cameras out there and the hunting crew that you're going to go out there with. And then, you have somebody that just decides to pull over to the side of the road and walk in. Those are the cases that we take enforcement action on.
Reminds me of a similar conversation we had, and we'll probably have again in a couple months, with the snowmobile trails, of people sharing their parts of their land so that people can, use their ATVs, use snowmobiles. That's fun. That's we all enjoy that. But you lose that right if you start going on people's property that you shouldn't, or going too far off the path, or any of these things.
So you're saying that ugly word, snow, but it's
yeah. I apologize, everyone. I apologize.
You're exactly right. That's probably a really good portion of a show we can do in the future. But the snowmobiling industry heavily depends on those property owners that voluntarily, give their land up so people can, use that recreation, opportunity to just get anywhere. And part of a club that I've been for several years, the Color Knights, you wouldn't believe how often we get property owners coming up to us saying, no more. It's because people are going off trail, whether they're going somewhere over a field that they had crops, they're growing, stuff. It gets really frustrating, but people just sometimes seem to forget that it's not a right to be on that trail system. It's a privilege.
Yeah. Well, let's talk some football. We're all Lincoln alums here. Joe, did you go to Lincoln? No, I'm not sure. But no, okay. All right, almost all. We got a bunch of Lincoln alums here. Great season. Great season for that football team. I hope that they still did this right now, even I know it was a while ago, but those kids' heads are still up. You got your chins up because a great season.
Yeah, it's a great season to reminisce on. This is my 7th year coaching football there, and one of the players that I just want to mention, Keegan Christie, 3-year starter for me as a linebacker. Great kid, moving on to play college football, going to college. But just a tough loss last Friday. But I tell you, Coach Biolo going for 2 in the end. Yeah, I'm with you.
Yep. 100%.
And you have the momentum going. You're playing a good football team in Middleton. It's unfortunate that things went the way they did, but those kids need to keep their head up high. They had an outstanding season. They're co-conference champs, and it was just a great season to reminisce about. The first 2 games were playing against a couple powerhouses, and the kids competed against them, and I think that really showed them that, hey, they can compete against anybody. And it's unfortunate to see the season end, but they shouldn't be hanging their heads down at all. And I really want to recognize Coach Biolo for, every year he'll grab a game and dedicate it to something, whether it's the pink game, raising money for, cancer survivors or cancer research, military. This year he picked a back the badge game. And then the money that they raised from that game against Hortonville, which we won quite handily, was going to the K-9 unit from not only our department, but Wisconsin Rapids. So really proud that was his idea to move forward with. The kids embraced it, and it went over really well. And I'm looking forward to hopefully that happening again in the near future. But to Coach Biolo and all the staff, I'm proud to be part of it. And it's really focusing around these kids, and they had just an outstanding season. I know as seniors it's tough right now because the high school football career is now ended, but there'll still be several opportunities moving forward in lifetime, and just look at the experience. That's one thing that you tell these kids that that hey, that high school football career is now ending, but look at all the years from Pop Warner until here, and then it's really done. Not many kids get the opportunity to go on to play any level. Scott and I had the opportunity to play a Division III football at UWSP, but then that's done pretty quick too.
Right.
And then moving on with those dreams of, I'm sure he felt the same way. I want to go in the NFL. That is so rare.
Yeah.
So it just getting at a point to where these kids are seniors and boom, it's over with, and that's tough. It is.
And I hope that they get to a place eventually where I think a lot of us do when we look back. Certainly there are some games you might remember a loss here or there, but for the most part, it's not the wins and losses. You remember being in the locker room. You remember those grinding fourth quarter. It's muddy out. And those games. You can barely tell what guy's number is because it's all muddy, and just being in those moments, just thinking myself of some of those times. Like, I think of that more than I think of wins and losses and any of that. It's the camaraderie. And a big shout out to not only the coaching staff, all of the AD, all the seniors, certainly all the parents that got these kids to practices, all of the people anybody that had a fingerprint on this season. Kudos to everybody. Keep your heads up because a great season, and I'm so with you about the 2-point conversion. I'd have done the same thing, and it's one of those moves where you do it, and if it goes right, if it's successful, we're talking about it right now. We probably start out the show with it, maybe. If it goes this way, it certainly you get questions. I haven't heard that from the community though. Like, I know it's high school football, so it's a little different than if, Coach LaFleur did it for the Packers or something. But I was still encouraged by, even a week later, hearing people talk about the game, everybody saying the same thing. I'd have done the same thing. I'd have gone for 2 as well. And not this kind of like a Monday morning coaching quarterback kind of thing. I was really impressed with the community of that because the kids hear these things.
They do.
And, while you may be thinking you're just talking about the coach, the kids attach themselves to the coaches' decisions. We all know what that's like. We did that. So that's important too. And also taking it that it, look, I love to win just as much as anybody else. I am sneaky competitive. You wouldn't believe how me and Terry go back and forth about this all the time. But it's high school football. It's supposed to be fun. We're trying to make these people future leaders. We're trying to give them skill sets. One of the last things it's about is how many yards you got in the game, or if you won or lost or whatever. We like that stuff, especially us guys. It's important to us, but it's really secondary compared to building good leaders, good men, and go into the community.
Yeah, well, look at the community investment too in that field.
Yeah.
I mean, wow, it long time coming, and it turned out that whole complex. You look at that investment in these kids, it's huge, and that field is probably one of the best in the state now.
Yeah.
The scoreboard got up, I think, for the homecoming game, and just impressive. And again, it's not just about the community, but it's about these kids, and to get the opportunity to play on that kind of a stadium. And it's not just Lincoln High School football; it's
Right.
Assumption. They had a good season this year, making the playoffs, and then it's a multi-use field. Because then now you can get the opportunity of soccer being out there, and you got an awesome track, just a nice stadium, nice community investment that I know many people step forward to make this happen, and no, it's awesome.
As word spreads and it gets bigger and bigger, I think we're going to be seeing a lot of state tournaments over there.
Yeah.
Certainly a lot of track and field. I think it's perfect for that. So that revenue-wise is going to be benefiting everybody. And what we see with the ski show every year, I mean, that kind of thing, I think we can get there's going to be stuff like that in the future.
Well, I believe the 8-man football championship is going to be here this year.
That's right.
And part of that reasoning, well, we're right in the middle of the state.
Yeah.
And 8-man football, I mean, there's so many programs out there that are everywhere, from way northern Wisconsin to down by Milwaukee. So I think that was part of it. And I think a big part of it is look at the stadium now.
Yeah. Wherever you are in the state, you're almost basically 2 hours away from us here. So that's a great point about that, I think. Also, I appreciate you mentioning Assumption. They had a great season. Nakusa did. Port.
Yeah.
All these schools had, especially like Nakusa and Port, had some sneaky wins in there where maybe they didn't get to the playoffs, but like, whoa, they pulled off that one. They had some good games. Everybody, big tip of the hat to everybody out there, and especially these parents, these coaches, the people that put in this time. They're not getting paid. They're doing this because they love these kids. They love the game. They love what this means. So a big thank you to everybody in the community for that. We'll get our final break out of the way. Come back and we'll have some more fun with our good friends from the Wood County Sheriff's Department right here on Morning Magazine, WFHR. All right. Our interview with the Wood County Sheriff's Department right now. And Shawn, I wanted to ask about if there was an update on the jail.
Yeah, we're moving forward with that project. Right now, we're at a point where we're doing two things. Working with our project manager and architect on designing the facility. And our jail ad hoc committee took a look at some designs of the exterior, part of the building, and that's probably one of the biggest questions that we've been asked. What is this going to look like? What is this multi-million-dollar project?
Are we going to have a sky roof? I mean, I think that's one of the big questions a lot of us have. I think.
Well, it's been really honestly interesting on the planning and development, developing the facility. How things are coming together, because it seemed like, okay, we're spinning our wheels a little bit. We initially planned for a skywalk, so now that it's a great segue, but we had to connect the jail to the courthouse. And so the initial plans were all right, we'll have to build this kind of skywalk or, I don't know, ramp or something connecting the buildings so people that have court appearances that are in custody can be brought over there in this secured hallway. So we knew that was going to be expensive, but we didn't have many other, we didn't have many
not a lot
other
of options.
So what happened is we were really looking at the site, and where the power comes into the courthouse, there's these transformers, and they were recently redone. And we took a look at that again, because they're all located to the south of the courthouse, right by Avon Street. And can we move them? And what's that cost going to be? So having several meetings with local powers that be, and we can move those. So that created a really big, opportunity for us to connect the buildings. So we're going to have the Sheriff's Department directly to the south of the courthouse, and then connecting to the jail, which makes a lot of sense, because the Sheriff's Department and jail are really one function, or a couple functions, but they're all one department. So you'll have the Sheriff's Department between both buildings, looked at a couple designs of what the buildings will look like, and I'm really impressed with what our
Cool.
architects have done to keep the history of what the courthouse is, and then try to continue that.
I was
with
curious about that.
similar windows and things like that. But now having that, having the sheriff's department in between both buildings will give us an opportunity, I think, to create some neat things. We're looking at that. That'll be the entrance point to the entire building. Instead of coming into the lower level of the courthouse, we're going to move the security area to where the sheriff's department is. So we'll have our staff working right in front of the sheriff's department, directing people to go either to the courthouse for whatever business they might have, or directing people to the sheriff's department or jail for things of that nature.
Yeah.
So things are, planning wise, are coming together really well.
Nice.
And staying on site with the courthouse is, it was kind of like a puzzle. How are we going to make this happen?
Yeah.
We had some initial things, but now, like I said, with moving the power of the transformers, gave us a great opportunity to get where we're at. So I'm excited. Hopefully still we'll break ground sometime, hopefully next spring. That's our goal. But we'll keep developing the project, and we're also working with the city. We have to vacate Avon Street. The city has to do that. And they have to rezone the area. So we've been doing presentations for the city council, and I explained to them, you're part of the team now. I mean, you this is a vested interest in the city of Wisconsin Rapids. So having that dialogue and teamwork approach now with them is really big.
It sounds like now at this point in the game that everybody's on the same page. Is that how you're seeing it?
Yeah, that's kind of how it seems right now.
Okay.
Everybody seems to be agreeing. We're just trying to, develop what's going to be best for the community.
That's a relief.
Yeah.
But honestly, again, I'm a little biased on this subject because I don't know. I care about your guys' safety. Just it's a silly thing. I know it's a little controversial, but I like our police officers, our sheriff's departments to be safe. I like our inmates to be safe. So to me, this is one of those things that I have never understood the back talk to this one. That it seems like, and I say that certainly with the people you mentioned there, but I'm thinking of also all the community members I run into, and certain ones where they were a little on the fence. Now they're more about, there's actually kind of an excitement in their voice, if maybe that's not the right verb to use, but it's kind of what's going on over here? Oh, I even talked to a person that has been driving down Avon Street a little bit just because they know it's going to be gone. So it's kind of funny, but it's positive. That's the thing that I'm taking from that. Even a little conversation like that, it's a positive thing. It's not grumble, whatever. It seems to be a little more going that direction.
Yeah, well, with looking at, the courthouse campus, what's important is keeping it there, keeping the jail and sheriff's department there, because, it's part of the criminal justice system, the courthouse is, and we have to really look at the safety and security of everybody, and having a non-secured way of bringing people in and out for court appearances is an issue, and that's something that we looked at it, and then not having that walkway that wasn't connected, that was just connecting both buildings. Now that's gone. We're going to have an internal walkway from the facility, from the jail to the courthouse that is going to be secured. And things are coming together really well. The community should know that the way that we're planning things, it's working out really well. And again, a big hats off to the City Council of Wisconsin Rapids. They've been very supportive so far as we move forward with this project. They're part of the team now, and we're looking forward to breaking ground.
Is there anything in the last minute we got here that you wanted to touch on we didn't get a chance to?
No, just congrats to Scott Goldberg again.
Yeah.
Proud of him and being part of our administration team. He's got a great team that's going to work under him, and looking forward to continue to work with him in the leadership role that he's got.
Yeah. Congrats again, Scott.
Hey, I appreciate that.
Right.
Look forward to it.
Great to meet you. Thanks a lot for coming in today, hanging out with us for a little bit. Looking forward to. We'll have to have him bring you back. We got to do that. Yeah.
Sure, that sounds good.
Shawn, always appreciate you. Thank you so much for the time, as always. To you guys, to your staff. You guys stay safe and strong out there, and thank you so much for what you do for our communities. We appreciate you very, very much. And also to Joe and the gang over at Wisconsin Rapids Community Media. We appreciate you guys as well. Hopefully you enjoyed yourself a little bit, Joe. A little. That's all it takes. Good. Thank you. Appreciate you guys. You can find Wisconsin Rapids Community Media, of course, on public access. Be sure to type into your YouTube page as well, Wisconsin Rapids Community Media, and like and follow their page to keep up on all the great videos and the wonderful work that they do there. We will talk with you all real soon. Thanks again for being with us, guys.
Thanks for having us.
More Morning Magazine for